actually just going to get right into it and let my story tell you about who I am. On the night of September 10th, 2001, almost 16 years ago to the day, my brother Guy called me just to say hello and catch up and talk about all things life. You should know that this wasn't something that was usual. It was kind of out of the ordinary because we didn't really speak regularly. It wasn't for a lack of adoration that I had for him, but he was my big brother, and we were just getting to that time in our lives where the age difference wasn't such a huge difference anymore. I was 25 at the time, and he was 29. And I kid you not, I'd been waiting for this day to come. Ever since this one devastating day that had come to pass when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and he was maybe 7 or 8, maybe younger. I'm not really sure at what age having fun bath time together gets weird. But at some point when we were really little, he looked at me as I was getting ready for Tom and Jerry bath time, and he looked at me and he was like, "Lori, we can't do this anymore." And I believe that was truly the first time my heart was ever broken. So when he called me the night before 9/11, and we ended up talking for 3 hours, I was like, this is it. This phone call was it. This is the moment I've been waiting for since the days of Tom and Jerry. We talked about everything from our work to our non-existent love lives. Some things never change. We talked about what we wanted to do with our lives. My brother worked for a company called Cantor Fitzgerald, which was located on the 103rd floor in the World Trade Center. He was always really, really smart and did really well in school without having to study. I, on the other hand, was the dumb one. I was a horrible student no matter how much I studied, but the truth is I really didn't study because I just hated school. In fact, I hated it so much that to this day I still have nightmares, like once a month, where I dream it's the last day of classes and that's the day I decided to show up on the day of the final and I have no idea what's going on, and I wake up in a cold sweat and I'm just like, thank God I'm not in school anymore. But I digress. So when it came to school and most other things, my brother was the golden child, that's for sure. And when he started working in corporate America, he moved up the corporate ladder really quickly. And he was making a really great salary for such a young guy, except there was just one problem. He wasn't happy. He shared with me his woes of his brutal New York City subway commute, which wasn't only really super long, but it was also really uncomfortable. If you've ever had the displeasure of riding the New York City subway during rush hour, you'd know it's akin to what one might imagine the highway to hell might look and feel like. But to add insult to injury to this awful commute, he was commuting to a job that didn't fulfill him or make him happy. So while he was really good at what he did, which by the way had something to do with fixing computers on the trading floors, I still don't know or understand it, he didn't feel passionate about what he was doing, and he was spending 16 hours a day, every single day, doing this. Our father was a lifelong entrepreneur. He was an immigrant that migrated here from Israel in his 20s with a couple of dollars in his pocket, but he was always a businessman. And during our conversation that evening, my brother told me that he was starting to feel that if he were going to be working this hard, then maybe he should be doing it for himself. Our father was in the restaurant business at the time, and he was thinking maybe he should go into business with our dad. However, my brother also had this great love for Spain and Spanish culture and wanted to move to Spain eventually. And he knew that the way of the corporate world and even maybe working with my dad wouldn't give him the opportunity to live his dream. So as we were finishing our 3-hour conversation, we made plans to hang out, which was the first time since Tom and Jerry. And I let him know that I fully supported him in making a change he so much wanted to make so that he could do something with his life that he found fulfilling and made him happy. We hung up, and I was so excited and felt so full of love for him and so excited for him to live a life that he loved. And then he was killed the next morning. You can imagine what a life lesson this was for me. As life would have it, several weeks after 9/11, I went back to work, trying to feel some sense of normalcy in my life. The job I went back to wasn't a job I loved or one that I even really liked, but honestly I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up, even though I was 25 years old. But at this point in my life, it didn't really matter. I was just more concentrating on putting one foot in front of the other and keeping it together without falling apart. But as time went by and I began to pull myself together, a few years later, I finally decided to get a new job with a new company, hoping I'd like this job better than my last, even though I still really had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. But I was on my way to finding something that would fulfill me and something I could be happy at. But just 3 weeks into my new job, my father called me, and he told me he had lung cancer and it spread to his brain. So I quit my 3-week-old new job so I could be by my father's side and help him try and get through it. But as time passed, it became clear that he wouldn't beat his lung cancer. Just before he was diagnosed, he started to build his second restaurant location in Manhattan with his 2 partners. My dad was the brains behind his business, while his partners were the buffoons behind the business. And so when we knew he wasn't going to make it, he looked up at me from his hospital bed and he said, "I need you to open the restaurant and take my place." I was 28 years old. I'd been a bartender and a waitress in college, but this hardly prepared me to figure out how to build and run a restaurant in Manhattan. And so I started taking notes from his hospital bed. My dad passed away not too long ago after that. And I was left to figure out how the hell to open a restaurant with 2 buffoons. I'm going to go ahead and spare you all the gory details and just say that I hated every single moment. I was there. I had no idea what I was doing. But I'll tell you this, when you don't know what you're doing and you have nobody to ask and help you figure it out, you figure it out. Because we're all so much smarter than we know or give ourselves credit for. The good thing that came out of this experience was that I had my first taste of being an entrepreneur, and I knew that I could never go back to corporate America. And so this set me on my path of being relentless in my pursuit of finding work that would make me happy. Because at this point in my life, I knew I owed it not just to myself to do something that made me happy and fulfilled me, but I also owed it to my brother to live my best life. And damn it, I decided that after all I had lost and I had been through, if I'm going to go out tomorrow, well, fuck all. I would have been happy with what I was doing today. And so I continued to try and fail at different opportunities and different business ventures. And while I was running the restaurant, at some point I took up salsa dancing. I saw the movie Shall We Dance with Jennifer Lopez and Richard Gere, and the next day I signed up for dance lessons, and I became the first 5-foot-tall Jewish salsa dancer that anybody'd seen in a long time. And it really helped me to start the healing process. I was so in love with it that I decided I wanted to have my own dance studio so that I could create this space where people could, even if for just 1 hour a week, feel completely in the moment and feel good and escape whatever pain they might be experiencing. Because that's what dancing did for me, and I wanted to give that back. I can't lie, though. I also wanted to have my own dance studio so I could dance all day. Because when you have a dance studio to run, the best way to make it super successful is by dancing all day, not by doing marketing. You just do the money dance. Not so much. So yeah, that was a big failure. It turns out you can't dance your way to profits. Who knew? I went out of business a year and a half later. But in the midst of all this dancing, my feet were getting really, really dry. I promise this isn't TMI, this is going somewhere. So my feet were getting really dry, and I found myself needing to take extra special care of my feet. I wore those, really fancy Dancing with the Stars heels, strappy shoes, but my super painful heels were getting drier and drier, so I would sit down in the shower every day, which I know most people don't do, but I'm 5 feet tall, it's not a far way to go, and I would sit down, get comfortable, and I would keep forgetting to take the soap that would hang on the shower caddy up above. I had the pumice stone. I don't know if guys know what they are, but everybody's metrosexual these days, so you might. But pumice stones, it's what makes your feet really soft. But usually you'll use a soap or, a cream with it, and I kept forgetting the soap. And then I'd have to stand up again to get the soap. I know it's like first world problems, but still, I was lazy. And until one day, the same thing happened for the millionth time, and I had a nub of soap sitting at the ledge, and I took it and I squashed it onto the other side of the pumice stone. And oh my God, Eureka, I had a 2-in-1 product in my hand that I just made. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this thing is awesome. Why doesn't it exist? So I knew I was onto something, but I did my due diligence, and I got on Google to see if anything like it existed, and it didn't. This was back around in 2008. So I said to myself, okay, how the hell do I get something that's from my brain into my hands? And then once I do that, how do I bring it to market? I mean, again, this was in 2008, so Amazon was around, but it wasn't like it is today. Even I didn't shop on Amazon in 2008. I didn't even know, and I didn't know I could sell on Amazon, that's for sure. So at that time, infomercials were really all the rage. And I called an infomercial company. I told them about my product. It was still just an idea in my head. And they said that they loved it, and they're really picky about the products that they pick, but they love my product, and they gave me a pro forma that said I'm gonna make $2 million. So what did I do? I went and got product liability insurance based on $2 million of sales that, I haven't even sold a dollar of this. I had no idea what I was doing. But they said they'd take on my product if I gave them, let's say, a couple $1,000s, because they loved it, but I should give them money. I was like, great, let's do it. And so we created an infomercial. Well, they helped me source a manufacturer, so that was really good. And I worked with a manufacturer completely over email, never spoke to them once over the phone, every day for a year to develop my product, build a prototype, and then finally create the final product. And it turned out that that process of inventing something, taking something that was in my brain and making it into something I could hold in my hand, that was the easy part. Because when it came to selling the product, to make a long story short, I once again learned very quickly that I had no idea what I was doing. Because the moment my infomercial began airing, I realized immediately there was no way selling my product via infomercial would ever be profitable. I also realized this was a huge scam. So I pulled the commercial and I cried a lot. But a few months later, by some stroke of luck, I was able to get my product on Good Morning America. And the review was beyond anything I could ever have imagined. This 14-second review caused a windfall of sales overnight. I think they said something that they would give my product an A plus, but they only save that for things that end world hunger and save Brangelina. That was the first time they were breaking up, so they gave my product an A-. But anyway, I remember calling my mom and half crying and in happy tears after the review and saying to my mother, "Oh my God, Mom, we're gonna be millionaires." And she said, "Oh my God, Lori, you're gonna be on Oprah." But after 3 days, all the buzz wore off and all my sales went back to zero. It's been a long road, folks. Not too long after that, a big company called Time Life tracked me down because they saw my infomercial on Good Morning America. And they told me they wanted to license my product. They didn't want any money from me. They were going to put $150,000 into creating a new infomercial and putting it on TV. I called my mom again in happy tears, and I said, "Oh my God, Mom, we're going to be millionaires." And after going through the whole infomercial process again, but thankfully not with my money, the infomercial aired, and it ran for a few weeks. And I got a call from Time Life with preliminary results, and they said, "We're sorry, but this product didn't work. We're giving you back the license." Then I cried again, a lot. And so at this point, I just sucked it up and I shelved my product, or you can say I gave up. I mean, I had bills to pay, I needed a job, and quite frankly, I knew myself well enough to know that I wasn't gonna go door to door to sell this product. It's just not the type of person that I am, and I knew that I wanted to go big or go home. So I went home, back to corporate America. Fast forward a few years later, into my corporate job, I was perusing Facebook. And if you know me, I do that a lot and get criticized for it quite a bit. I saw someone posting about selling stuff on Amazon. And I had no idea what that even meant. I had no idea there were third-party sellers. I don't even think I knew what the term third-party seller meant. And I didn't shop on Amazon. This was in 2014. It was only 3 years ago. And just as a sidebar, to provide a bit of a timeline of all of this, to keep this in perspective, when I first had the idea for my product, when I was sitting in the shower, and you were all picturing me in the shower, which was really weird, but that's okay, because I'm picturing you all naked right now. I'm sorry. I love you so much. You're adorable. I started this in 2008. That's when I had the idea for this product. So now it's 2014, and I find out about Amazon, and I start learning everything I can. I take a course, and I start doing retail arbitrage. And like a lot of women, I think, I'm feminist all the way, but a woman loves to shop. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm gonna shop and make money. It's like a dream come true. And then 5 minutes later, after all the scanning and all the schlepping and all the packing, oh my God. I was like, this is not for me. It's totally for me. I live in the city. I don't have a car. I was taking taxis. It was costing me $1 million in taxis. Again, I'm 5 feet tall. How many bags can I carry? So I was like, this sucks. No offense to the retail arbitrageurs out there. People make amazing money with it. It's just not my thing. But through retail arbitrage is how I learned how to use the Amazon platform, and I learned how powerful it was. And then that's again when another light bulb went off in my head, and I said, wait a second. I happen to have invented a product a few years ago. I think I can make it work on this Amazon thing. So I called this warehouse that I had told to destroy my inventory that I had of my product. Even though I had told them to destroy it a year earlier, I was like, well, you never know. I'm sure they destroyed it, but let me try. They didn't destroy it. It was there. And so I bought the product back from them, and I put it on Amazon with all my knowledge of how to post and list and everything on Amazon. And in 3 weeks, my product became a top 10 bestseller. And eventually a #1 bestseller a few times over. It was an overnight success that took me only 6 years. And a lot of money. Needless to say, I quit my corporate job and I finally started living the dream. I've launched quite a few other products since then, and I've built a private label around my soulmate, which is the name of my product if I haven't mentioned that. And while it's amazing to be able to control the amount of money I want to make and am making, the more important part is that I really enjoy the process. I love sourcing products, manufacturing them, branding them, launching them. PPC I don't love so much. But you can't love everything. But this is why I've won, is because I enjoy the process. And I won because even though I failed 1,000 times with quite a few businesses, and even with this product, I kept trying to do different things, until I found something that made me happy, and until I found a way to make my product a success. And at the end of the day, it's not about the money. My brother made a shit ton of money, and he wasn't happy. It's about the process. You've got to enjoy the process. Amazon is a special beast. I think we all know that. And it's really something, actually, that our good friend Chris Green brought to my attention that I hadn't thought about, which that there's so many different ways that you can make money on Amazon. You can do it through private label, you can do it through merch, you can do it through self-publishing, and I'm sure there's 101 more ways that you can do it, which I have no idea about. But I love PL, like I said, so I'm really excited about merch, and this is definitely making me more excited, but I'm a PL girl at heart. But I implore you all to find a way to make Amazon work for you, not just to make money, but to find an Amazon process that you love, and then the money will come. I mean, find your passion, figure out how to plug it into this beast, because there's so many opportunities. You just have to look for them, and you can make anything happen. I really believe that we're living in incredible times, and Amazon has given everyone, just make sure it's a good angle, always good angles, okay? You gotta go a little high sometimes, skinny angle. We're living in incredible times, and Amazon has given everyone the opportunity to become a hugely successful entrepreneur. And we're so lucky to understand and know the opportunity that we have with Amazon. But it's not enough to know, you have to do. And when you do, and when you fail, which you will, you have to get up and keep going. And you can't ever give up. Because I believe that you can be, do, and have everything that you want. In just a few days, it will be the 16th anniversary of 9/11. And I hope that when you find yourself doubting this entrepreneurial path, because you will, I hope you'll all remember everything I just shared with you about the life and the loss of my brother. Watch that angle. And I hope that it will keep you moving forward, as it has kept me for so many years, and will continue to move me forward for years to come. And with that, I'd like to close with one of my favorite quotes by Henry David Thoreau, which is, "Go confidently in the directions of your dreams. Live the life you've imagined." Thank you. If anyone has any questions on how to invent the next space shuttle or anything like that, I can't help you. But if it's soap, I'm your girl.
You want to do that?
Sure.
Did you bring samples any chance?
Samples? No. I can give you a link to my Amazon listing, though. I'm a capitalist at heart. Sorry? Am I selling much on Amazon? Am I selling merch on Amazon? So I just got approved recently. So I'm in the 1 to 10 tier. You gotta start somewhere. Looking forward to it though. Yes.
In the beginning, you felt as though it was a good product. Someone came alongside you and said the same thing. Then you went through a series of failures where you easily could have said, did I make the right decision? Who was beside you the entire time saying, don't give up?
Me. Nobody else.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Hi.
So, have you been over to China?
No.
Okay. So, I do private label as well. I've been doing it since 2015. I feel like the biggest problem I have is consistency with suppliers. And if I do get a good product, keeping it safe from that supplier, how are you developing such, good relationships? And if you are, is it with one supplier or is it with multiple suppliers? I'm assuming the same because
No, I have multiple suppliers. I'm not. What is the first part of your question? How do I keep?
Yeah, so how are you keeping good relationships with suppliers? I would, I went over to China and I'm trying to keep good relationships with my suppliers.
What do you mean by keep good Why are you having not good
I can't get
relationships?
consistent, products throughout, I'll get, multiple shipments and the quality will, go down or.
Well, I don't want to turn this into a private label, of course, because I don't want to take away from merch. But I'm happy to talk to you later about it, on the side. But there's definitely ways around that. I haven't had any problems with any suppliers, and I work with quite a few.
Interesting. All right.
Anybody else want to get hit with that thing in the head just for fun?
It's soft. No other questions? But Lori, thank you so
Thank
much.